Have you ever noticed that silence can be louder than words? Not the kind of silence that's peaceful, but the kind that lingers after someone walks out the door, the kind that screams in the middle of the night when you can't sleep, and every thought you've been avoiding finally catches up to you. Silence isn't just quiet. It's a voice. It speaks when words fail. It reveals what noise tries to cover, and maybe, just maybe, the silence in your life is trying to tell you something you've been too afraid to hear. Silence. Most people think of it as emptiness, as nothingness, as a space to be filled, but silence is not empty. Silence is alive. It carries weight. It holds presence. Think of the last time you walked into a room where something unspoken lingered. The silence itself felt thick, didn't it? It pressed against your chest, telling you everything you needed to know, even though no one said a word. That's the power of silence. It can say what words cannot. It can reveal truths hidden beneath sound. In a world constantly rushing, buzzing with notifications, echoing with opinions and noise, we have forgotten how to listen to silence, and yet, silence waits, patiently, always there beneath the surface, like the quiet river under the frozen ground. It doesn't go away, it simply waits for us to notice it again. But here's the question. Why does silence feel so heavy? Why do we avoid it? Why do we turn on the TV when we're alone? Why do we play music just to fill the background? Why do we scroll endlessly when the room grows too quiet? Because silence leaves us with ourselves. And sometimes that's the scariest company of all. When the noise fades, there is nothing left between you and your truth. The grief you tried to outrun, the anger you swallowed, the dreams you buried because life told you they were unrealistic. Silence makes them rise, like ghosts, like shadows you thought you escaped. That's why silence feels so heavy, because it strips away distractions and asks you to face what's underneath. But what if the heaviness is not punishment? What if it's healing? What if silence presses down not to crush you, but to ground you, to anchor you in the truth you've been avoiding? Silence is not a wall, it's a doorway. Every pause in life is an invitation, a chance to notice, a chance to return to yourself. When you sit in silence long enough, the noise inside begins to shift. The storm in your head starts to soften. The thoughts that once screamed at you begin to lose their sharpness. At first it's uncomfortable, almost unbearable. But if you stay, you discover that silence has been carrying messages all along. Messages about what your heart truly longs for. Messages about wounds you never let heal. Messages about the kind of life you were meant to live, but were too busy to notice. Silence is not absence, it's presence. Presence of truth, presence of self, presence of what matters most. And when you walk through the doorway of silence, you don't just find peace, you find yourself. Some people confuse silence with loneliness, but they are not the same. Loneliness is the ache of being unseen, unheard, disconnected. Silence, on the other hand, is where connection is born again. Think about it. The deepest moments of love you've experienced, were they always filled with words? A hug, a gaze across the room, sitting beside someone who understands you without speaking. Those moments are silence in its purest form. Loneliness says, I am cut off. Silence says, I am with you. Silence teaches you first to sit with yourself, to become your own companion. And once you can do that, you'll notice you're never truly alone again. Because when you can rest in your own silence, you carry that steadiness into every relationship. You become someone who doesn't just fill space with noise, but creates space for presence. And that is how silence heals loneliness. The truth is, Our world is terrified of silence. Every store plays music, every waiting room streams TV. Every awkward pause in conversation is quickly patched over with small talk. We are trained to believe silence is uncomfortable, that it must be filled, that if you're not saying something, you're wasting time. But the world got it wrong, because in reality, noise is often wasted. Noise can disguise truth, bury emotion, delay healing. Silence, however, reveals. The reason the world fears silence is because silence doesn't play along. It doesn't distract you. It doesn't entertain you. It simply sits there and asks you to be honest. And honesty can be terrifying. But here's the paradox. The very thing we fear, silence, is the thing we need most. We think strength is loud. We think it's about being the one with the last word, the one who always speaks up, the one who never backs down. But some of the strongest people I know rarely raise their voices. Their strength is in their restraint, their ability to hold their ground quietly, their ability to listen deeply before speaking. Silence can stop a fight before it begins. Silence can turn an insult into an echo instead of a wound. Silence can give power to your words because you don't waste them. And in a world where everyone is trying to be heard, sometimes the one who chooses silence is the one people listen to most. Strength isn't always about being louder. Sometimes it's about being quieter, but rooted, grounded, certain. There are two kinds of silence: the silence that wounds and the silence that heals. The silence that wounds is neglect. When someone ignores your pain, when a loved one withdraws without explanation, when the words you long for never come. That silence is sharp, it cuts, it leaves scars. But the silence that heals is different. It's the silence of presence, the silence of someone sitting with you in your pain without trying to fix it, the silence of a friend who knows that words would only get in the way. It's also the silence of nature, the sound of trees moving in the wind, the pause of waves pulling back from the shore, the stillness of a night sky. This silence doesn't wound, it mends. It whispers, "You are safe. You can let go now." The loudest noise you face is not outside of you, it's inside. The critic, the doubt, the regrets replaying on loop, the imagined conversations, the what-ifs, the voices of everyone you've tried to please. That's the real noise. Silence is not just about turning off the world. It's about learning how to quiet the inner storm. It doesn't mean forcing your mind to go blank. It means learning to sit still long enough to let your thoughts pass, like clouds across the sky. It takes practice, it takes patience. But when the inner noise softens, you begin to hear something else. Your own voice, not the voice of fear, not the voice of judgment, but the softer voice within you, the one that is wise, kind, and deeply true. That is the voice silence is trying to uncover. Silence has its own language. It speaks in ways words cannot. The silence when someone you love leaves. The silence of an unanswered call. The silence after a door closes. Those silences ache. They communicate pain without sound. But there are other silences too. The silence of two people who don't need words to feel close. The silence of holding a newborn child. The silence of a sunrise that takes your breath away. Silence speaks in heartbreak. Silence speaks in beauty. Silence speaks in love. And sometimes it's the only voice that tells the truth. So how do you begin? How do you step into silence in a noisy world? Start small. 5 minutes in the morning without your phone. 5 minutes at night with nothing but your breath. At first, it will feel strange, like time is moving too slowly. like silence is pressing down on you, but stay until the discomfort begins to soften. Stay until you realize silence is not empty. It's full of life, full of guidance, full of presence. The more you practice, the more silence becomes home, a place you return to, not to escape the world, but to finally hear it more clearly. When you learn to welcome silence within, you begin to notice silence around you. The stillness of a morning before the world wakes, the pause between bird calls, the breath between words in a song. Even in music, it's the pauses that give meaning to the notes. Without silence, sound is only noise. Life is the same. The pauses matter as much as the motion. And when you notice them, you begin to live more fully. Silence is not only something you experience, it's something you can give. You can offer silence to someone who needs to be heard. You can offer silence to a friend who doesn't need advice, just presence. You can offer silence to yourself when explanations are too heavy, when words feel impossible. Silence is a gift, a rare one in a world that cannot stop talking. And when you offer it, you give more than quiet. You give understanding, you give safety, you give space to be real. So maybe silence is not something to escape. Maybe it's something to embrace. Silence is not the end of conversation. It's the beginning of understanding. Silence is not empty. It's full of truth, full of love, full of presence. And if you let it, it can teach you more than all the noise in the world ever could. If these words stayed with you, if silence has ever been both your enemy and your friend, then I invite you to take a moment right now. Pause. Notice what's stirring inside you. Notice what silence is trying to say. And when you're ready, share it. Write it in the comments. Tell me the moment when silence shaped you. Your story might be the one that helps someone else feel less alone. And if you want more spaces like this, where silence, truth, and healing matter, subscribe and stay connected, not for numbers, but so together we can keep carving out a quiet corner in this noisy world, a place where silence isn't feared but honored, a place where we remember that silence has power, and that power can change us.